but there's been a little hiccup with Happy's will. And Isabella, you're here because you two share something in common.
What's that?
A father. You're sisters.
Wait, sisters? Hey! We said that exactly alike!
We call her the Queen of Country. I'm going to call her the Queen of NBC this fall. We're talking about Happy's Place. She's starring in her new sitcom, Reba McEntire, alongside Belissa, Escobedo. So, Reba, I'll let you do the honors. Tell us what Happy's Place is all about.
Happy's Place is about a wonderful tavern in Knoxville, Tennessee. Happy's Place was owned by my dad. His name was Happy. And I've been running the tavern for the last 10 years. Daddy wanted to just kind of sit at the bar and have fun. And so when my daddy passes, we're at the reading of the will, and this girl named Isabella shows up. And I'm like, what's she doing here? Well, come to find out, we have something in common, a father, and neither one of us knew it. So that's hard for Bobby, because Bobby's been working at this place, this tavern, for 10 years, and then Belissa, she shows up as Isabella, and expecting part of it, and so it's kind of what do we do? So that's the writers were great in how we handle it. I learned a lot. Mm-hmm. That's one thing about this show. I always learn something from it. There's a lesson in there. That's what I like about it. It reminds me of the Andy Griffith Show.
Yeah,
every
episode.
Something.
Yeah.
Belissa, from Hocus Pocus 2 to Blue Beetle, that's how we know you from all these, and now co-starring in a sitcom on primetime TV with Reba. This is just such an exciting, I watched the pilot last night. What does it mean to you to be a part of this incredible show?
I think at the basis of it, it is just an absolute honor to be part of something so special, Miss Reba's return to television, but also showing a blended family, I think is so important, and the merging of our two cultures, and kind of in an unexpected situation. When you hear Reba's my half sister, people go, what? And I think I love that so much about the show. And so it feels really special to be a part of that.
Very special, I can tell you, as an audience member. And Reba, we're getting a return to television from the Reba show, back with Melissa Peterman, back with a lot of the crew from that show. What is that like for you?
Homecoming. It's like a family reunion, and we get to stay together. We don't have to go home. It's been a lot of fun. It's like riding a bicycle. You just pick up where you left off and talk about the kids. Everybody's kids grew up since we were on the Reba show together. I think there were 7 pregnancies during the lifetime of that show. And now Erin Barry, who was just a little old bitty girl, she's one of the writers on the show. So we're thrilled to have her.
We're thrilled to see it back, you back on TV. Belissa, could you tease us, what can we expect from this pilot episode of Happy's Place?
Pilot episode. Oh my goodness.
Lots of information.
Lots of information. It's, but I think, surprise, a big surprise, and a lot of duos with me and Reba. We get some shared lines, which is nice.
Yeah.
Sisters.
Sisters are sitting so close together. And Reba, what I just want to know, like, being back on primetime TV, obviously Friday nights starting October 18th, what does this mean for you?
Oh, it means I'm back home. I love doing sitcoms. They're so much fun. We get in here and we play. I look forward to coming to work every morning.
So exciting. Make sure you watch Happy's Place on NBC starting Friday, October 18th, streaming the next day on Peacock. Thank you both so much. Season 26 of The Voice might be the most eclectic group of coaches yet. It's Snoop Dogg, it's Reba McEntire, it's Gwen Stefani, and I'm so excited to talk to Michael Bublé. So all of these years later, you're joining The Voice. What's that like?
It is, because of the names that you just mentioned, it is awesome. It's truly awesome. Best job ever. And one of the last jobs I had, I think, was working at Chuck E. Cheese. So, that was it's a tall order to be better than that. But it's so cool, man. Listen, Reba is the queen, and she is so cool and so funny and so beautiful and rich. And Gwen is just incredible, sophisticated, intelligent woman who pretends that she doesn't know what she's doing, but she is way too smart and way too intuitive and understands music in such a deep way. And then there's Snoop, who is He's just a really kind, beautiful soul who is monstrously talented. I think has changed. I think he's one of the most important figures in music, to be honest. I mean, he has literally changed a genre of music, and together we're a family. We're a family that loves each other, and we really do. And every day, it is a joy. None of us can wait to get to work, and part of it is having each other's backs, and the other part is that these contestants, these artists, we were them. We remember. We know what it was like to be them. We know that how brave it is to be in that position, how hard it is to get there, how badly they want it, and we're in this position where we're not judges. We're mentors. You know, we're coaches that hopefully can impart our experience, our passion, and help them to reach their goal. And there's nothing as fulfilling, I think, at this point in all our careers, as the ability to advocate for somebody else. You know, it really is.
What you just mentioned, I think, is so important for audiences to know about The Voice. You guys are coaches. You are their biggest fans and supporters. You're not judges. You're not the Simon Cowell that wants to tear them down and get the audiences ramped up. Is that what drew you to The Voice and wanting to be these big super fans for these people?
Absolutely, man. I don't think I could have or would have done another program of this ilk. Look at when we break it down, I'm not being falsely modest. They are almost all better singers than I am. I don't want to speak for the other coaches, but if I could, I would just lip sync to them in my concert tours. They are awesome, and I love it. I mean, I watched this awesome TED Talk. I went to a TED Talk and I watched this guy do a TED Talk on retirement, and he was talking about the different parts of retiring, and the final part was service to other people. Was, you know, after you've had a great life and you've been lucky enough to have a career, and you know, there's something that's beautiful about being in service to other people. And not that we're near retirement or we're at that point of our careers, but there's something so cool about having our dreams come true. I mean, Gwen often talks about being a 17-year-old kid in her garage and, you know, for 10 years being told they'd never play her music. And for me, it was the same. I was playing in nightclubs and I didn't get signed till I was 26. Never thought it would happen for me. And now to look out there and to see this artist, this young person who is going through the same thing, it is so easy to empathize with them and to want to be there for them. That it's it's a beautiful story. And by the way, I'll tell you the truth. Whether these contestants end up, you know, going further in the contest or if it's not their day, we don't just quit on them. You know, we are exchanging numbers. We're making sure that we have a connection with them and we can help them in any way we can.
And you had a very, very special moment in the premiere last night. I'm so glad to talk to you the day after it, that this guy didn't get a coach's chair turn, but he's a huge Michael Bublé fan. I have chills just talking about it. You got up on stage and sang with him, gave him all the support he needed. What was that like? Obviously, this was filmed prior to yesterday.
Yeah, I didn't see, you know, and it's funny, I won't watch. I don't think I'll ever see an episode. I don't want it to ever affect me. But I'm just, you know what, it's funny. Gwen has taught me a ton about being in the moment. And she'll say all the time, I just want to be present and for it to be a stream of consciousness. And so what happened that day was just me loving that kid. And listen, I've been so lucky I stand on the shoulders of my heroes. I talk about this a lot, but, you know, Tony Bennett and Sinatra and Dean and the Mills Brothers, and I get to carry on the legacy of my heroes. And when I see somebody that loves the Great American Songbook or jazz, I feel like they're my partner, and I feel like I get to help advocate with them and introduce this to generations to come. I think it's the greatest gift America ever gave to the arts, bar none. And so for me to be able, okay, it wasn't his day, but to be able to get up and just, you know, have that moment that's what it's all about. It's about connecting.
All audiences around the world love your music, whether it's wedding anthems, whether it's on the radio, Haven't Met You Yet, everything. You have a greatest hits album coming out. What is that like, finally getting all your hits together, plus some new music?
It's emotional. It's sentimental. And it's not only, you know, forging this beautiful connection with, you know, souls all over the planet. It's each of those songs means something to me. They all matter to me. It's why I didn't do a greatest hits. I did a best of. There was a big difference for me. And Each one of those songs is a story of my life, and it's a story of how I was feeling, what I was going through, you know, falling in love with my wife, having children, you know, going through deep lows, and then just the people I worked with, the producers, Phil Ramone, Tommy LaPuma, guys that we've lost now, but were the greatest producers on the planet, David Foster, Bob Rock, Umberto Gatica, the musicians, the arrangers, Jerry Hay doing Spider-Man, or John Clayton Jr., you know, arranging hard. There's just so many moments, and it takes, as you know, even in your, I mean, listen, in your career, I am sure you could wax poetic for hours about how many people had to love you, give you a chance, you know, give you advice, take time out of their busy schedules just to love on you and, you know, to help you get to where you are today. Because that's what it takes. It takes an army. And so when you put out something like a best of, it is literally celebrating all of that support, all of the love, all of those people, from the teachers you had in high school. I mean, he goes back to elementary. I mean, my grandfather, my family, my sisters, all of it. We all, you know, we all revel in the celebration of being able to do something like this.
You're so humble. I love chatting with you. This is going to go in my best of interviews. Make sure you watch Michael Bublé on The Voice Mondays and Tuesdays. Get his Best of Bublé album as soon as you can, where all music is provided. Thank you so much.
I love you. Thanks so much, man.
Thank you. So in 2011, I have no shame in saying I saw Bridesmaids 4 times in theaters, and I just love that group of girls. Someone who stuck out to me is Wendi McLendon-Covey as Rita. She's just this foul-mouthed woman who I just love so much, and now I follow her career. She's now in this super fun new show on NBC called St. Denis Medical, so thank you for chatting with me, and tell us what it's all about.
Oh, thanks for having me. I love that introduction, Trevor. So St. Denis Medical is about a group of, it's like a work family, of course, of nurses and doctors. And my character, who's the administrator of this safety hospital in the middle of rural Oregon, okay? Now, we can't turn anyone away, which means we are constantly fighting for funds. And my character really very stupidly believes that if she makes this hospital beautiful, then people will travel there from all over the world and make this a destination medical property. Those are her big dreams. This is never going to happen probably, but it's what gets her out of bed in the morning, and it's what keeps her going. So, yeah.
Yeah, I watched the first few episodes. I'm so hooked already, and it has such a great ensemble cast, like most comedies do these days. But it's just so great. With you is also David Allen Greer, Allison Tolman, Mechie Leeper from Jury Duty, who just blew up on the screen from that. Tell us about working with this cast.
Well, we didn't have a chance for, you know, chemistry reads or anything like that. So luckily, the chemistry is there, just organically. I love working with them. Have I laughed so hard at Mechie sometimes that I have ruined a take? Of course I have. Of course I have. That's just kind of what it's going to be every time we go to work with these people, which, listen, if I laugh my butt off in a day, that's a good day, right? So
Great problem to have.
It's a great problem to have. But again, this is a work family, and we spend more time together than we do with our own families. So it is good that we get along. And one thing that this series has taught us is that we have the utmost respect for healthcare workers. Oh my God, people who are doing things that we don't have the guts to do, and they're not doing it for the money. They're doing it because it's the right thing to do and there's a need. So, you know, really appreciate a healthcare worker today. Tell them they're doing a great job, because they are.
You are certainly right about that. And it's a mockumentary style kind of comedy, kind of like previous NBC shows, The Office, Parks and Rec. And we're getting it back with St. Denis Medical. What's it like to be part of that kind of show?
Well, you know, we did that on Reno 911. It was mockumentary style because it was supposed to, you know, copy the show Cops, which will always be on the air because there's always, you know, a lot of material there. Well, the same thing with hospitals. We're all going to end up in the hospital at some point, whether you want it or not. You probably don't want it. But that doesn't mean funny things don't happen. And the great thing about that mockumentary style is that you see the jokes that aren't written. You see the physical jokes while there's a voiceover going on. And that's my favorite thing about it, is that the voiceover is saying one thing and the actions are showing you something completely different. And I think that is so important for comedy. I think that's why that style works.
Being already getting a full season order, network comedies, network dramas even it's kind of cutthroat these days. It's like, okay, you got to be strong from the start. And I promise you, St. Denis Medical is. What do you hope for in future seasons or as the season progresses?
Gosh, for future seasons, I really hope that my character finds some kind of work-life balance, but I don't think she will. She doesn't know how to do that. She's not a warm, cuddly person. But I think that's also why she's so funny, is she's such a disaster. And she does not want your germs. So don't hug her. Okay? Do not. I would love to see this hospital have some big wins. I would love to see this hospital finally get in the news. That's what they want, right? So I hope they have some big wins, but I have a feeling it's just going to be a series of little wins that keep people going. They're fighting the good fight.
Such a feel-good show these days that people need right now, especially in America. And we're going to be watching St. Denis Medical Tuesday nights on NBC, streaming the next day on Peacock. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Court is about to be back in session for the third season of the new boot of Night Court. I'm talking with the stars Melissa Rauch, Emmy winner John Larroquette. So, Melissa, I'll let you do the honors. Tell us where we're at as we get ready for this third season of Night Court.
Well, we come into season 3, following up on a cliffhanger that we left off on during the end of season 2, where we find out if Jake, who is dating Abby, is Dan Fielding's son. And it's a 2-part episode. We learn some information in the first episode of season 3, and then we find out more in the second episode. And we also learn that there is a new prosecutor in Wendi Malik, who joins the cast as a series regular. She guest starred in the first 2 seasons, and now she's back to join our workplace family.
Such a fun show. And John, all of those years previously, obviously 4-time Emmy winner for this show in this role, such an iconic comedy role. Did you ever think you'd get to playing this role now in a new version of the show?
No, certainly not. You don't think about those things. You move on, and I was reluctant at first when I heard about it. I did, the idea of being compared to oneself 30 years ago is never, I don't think, a very pretty sight. But the more I talked to Melissa, the more I realized maybe there was life left in him to figure out what he had done during the ensuing 30 years from the last time we saw him. What did his life become, and where is he still funny? And we discovered that there was still lots of room in his life for humor and heart, which Abby Stone brings out in Dan Fielding more than anyone, certainly. So it became then a intriguing prospect to revisit someone that I had played that long ago.
Your character obviously has just this big transformation from what we saw from the 80s and 90s to now in this series. He was a former assistant DA to now a public defender. So he's kind of fighting the different battle. What's that like for your character to now get in these shoes?
Well, it turns out he's a lousy defense lawyer. He was a very good prosecutor. He lost very few cases. And there are not too many that he wins as a free lawyer, as he calls himself. But it's still fun, and it is what it is. It's fine. He's becoming more comfortable in that role of defending people who he doesn't really like that much anyway. But he finds ways to get through the day and to try and help them.
Melissa, being an EP on this show, obviously you get to help decide, all these guest stars. We see new cases on the show each time. There are so many guest stars that we've already seen, and hopefully we'll get to see. Can you preview anybody that's coming up on this third season?
Oh, I sure can. We're really, really fortunate to have such amazing guest stars this season. Marsha Warfield, who of course played Roz, Russell the bailiff in the original, comes back. We have Mayim Bialik, who was on The Big Bang Theory with me and also on the John Larroquette show, playing John's daughter years ago. She guest stars as herself, a bizarro version of Mayim Bialik. Kate Micucci, also from Big Bang Theory. Brent Spiner and Annie O'Donnell coming back as the Wheelers from the original. Andrew Rannells, Nico Santos, Joe Latrugio, Andy Daly, Jessica St. Clair. Just really every week, Julia Duffy and Ryan Hansen are in our premiere. Just every week, there's someone else that you just can't believe you get the good fortune of getting to work with.
So exciting to see all these different appearances on this kind of show. And you really helped bring this back. You had this big vision with your husband. When did this decide you were like, okay, we need another new boot is what they're calling it of Night Court?
It really was this idea, selfishly, of being a fan of the original and wanting to see it on TV again, and loving the multi-camera sitcom and trying to find the thing that was going to make it to the airwaves, and the structure of Night Court and the inherent DNA of what the show is, and the architecture of how stories come in and out of the courtroom. It's such a great story generator. And then, of course, when we reached out to John and spoke to him about it, it just felt like, oh, goodness, if John would come back and do this, it just really, truly needs to happen. And once he came on board, we were really off to the races.
So exciting to see him back in this character. John, as part of Night Court, this is the third season. Network comedies, unfortunately, if you know it's getting a third season, it's a great show because it's so cutthroat these days on these kind of stations. And NBC is fully backing Night Court. What is that like for you to get this full backing from them?
Well, it just gives you such a confidence that what you're doing is approved of and can continue to do. So you're not fighting the battle of wondering if they like you or not. They obviously do, since they gave us a full season. And so we're just free to try and make as funny a show as we possibly can.
Super funny. I'm so excited for people to start watching the third season of Night Court Tuesday nights at 8:30 on NBC, streaming the next day on Peacock. Thank you both so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
The show is called Brilliant Minds. I'm talking with the brilliant minds of the stars themselves, Zachary, Quinto, Tamberla, Perry. So, Zachary, I'll let you do the honors. Tell us what Brilliant Minds is about.
Thank you so much. Happy to be here. Brilliant Minds is a show that's based on a real life doctor called Oliver Sacks, who was a world-renowned neurologist and prolific author. He lived and worked primarily in the mid to late 20th century. He died in 2015 at the age of 83. He was considered by the New York Times to be the poet laureate of medicine because he wrote extensively about his patients and their unique and in some cases unbelievable experiences. He was a neurologist, so he was dealing with the human mind and the field of consciousness that exists there. And our show really is drawn from his experience. So I play Dr. Oliver Wolf. All of the aspects of the character that I play are true of the real life Oliver Sacks. Many of the cases that we explore in the show are real cases that Oliver Sacks dealt with or inspired by such cases. And so it was this kind of wonderful hybrid where I got to play a character who is based on someone real, but I'm not playing the person themselves. So I had the benefit of all the source material. I mean, he wrote dozens of books. The Man Who Mistook His Wife for a Hat, Anthropologist on Mars, Musicophilia, Hallucinations, Awakenings. I mean, many articles for the New Yorker, the New York Times, many interviews, TED Talks, podcasts. So there was no shortage of source material, I'll tell you that much. And then I got to apply it all to this character who is a product of my imagination and my collaborations with Michael Grassi, our incredible showrunner, and our staff of writers and the other actors like Tamberla and Teddy Sears and all the amazing guest stars like Steve Howie, Donna Murphy, Mandy Patinkin. So we have a really rich world and stories that I hope audiences will not only be entertained by, but ideally potentially also see themselves in. And I've always said if audiences see themselves in the characters that we're playing and the stories we're telling, then we are doing our jobs.
Tamberla, this is where your character comes in. She has a great kind of funny relationship with Zachary's character. She's not taking any of his BS. She lays down the law. What's it like being that kind of character?
I tell you, this character, her name is Dr. Carol Pierce, and she is also based off of a real life woman who's no longer with us. Her name was Carol Burnett. Our story is kind of drawn upon the real life friendship of Carol Burnett and the real life Oliver Sacks. She is a no BS type of girl. And when she recruits Oliver to come work with her at the Bronx General to create this neuropsychology dream team, she understands that, his ways of practicing medicine can be seen as unorthodox, but she also understands and she knows that he's a genius in what he does and that he really cares for her patients. So the relationship that we get to see throughout these 13 episodes, it's a little bit of a give and take, a tug, if you will. But at the end of the day, she loves him, she respects him, and she knows that he's going to be best for those patients who are dealing with whatever they're dealing with in terms of mental health challenges.
Such a fun dynamic to watch between your two characters, and something that really sets this apart from other network procedural dramas is Zachary's character is an openly gay man as a doctor. We don't see that very much on TV right now. I really, really appreciate that aspect of it. What's that like for you, Zachary?
Oh, I appreciate you saying that. It's a real honor, to be frank about it, to be the lead of a primetime network medical drama, and to have the sexuality of the character be one aspect of many aspects of what make him interesting and make him unique. That to me is the crux of the issue. It's not about his sexuality, but it's one aspect, as it is for anyone who identifies as LGBTQ plus. It doesn't necessarily define who we are, but it certainly enhances who we are. And so I think that Michael Grassi, our showrunner, who's also openly gay, is somebody who understands that and somebody who brought that sensibility to the story. So that's not what it's about, but it certainly makes what it's about richer and deeper and more complex, as anyone's identity does. So I think there's some authenticity to that. And for me, as an openly gay actor myself, it is an honor, a privilege, hopefully, to represent my community and to tell our stories in the ways in which they often play out in our own lives. And that's really the goal for us in all of the aspects of our storytelling.
You said it so perfectly. And another thing that I love that sets us apart from other procedural dramas is that this is literally from the title, Brilliant Minds. It's not, oh, this person's going to the hospital, they're solving someone's heart condition, they're solving someone's broken bones, broken legs. It's all about what this intricate, difficult topics are that we don't know about in the mind. Tamberla, what is it like to be part of something like this where it's all these very important issues that aren't really discovered on TV right now?
It's hugely important. Mental health has been a hot topic for a while now. People are more transparent than ever about the relationships with their therapists, the counseling that they're seeking, and just where they are in their mental state. And one of the things I love about this show is that, one of the things that I hope that people get out of this show is that they come here and they can feel seen. If you can see yourself in these characters, and these doctors and the patients that we have, then like Zach always says, that we've done our jobs.
Very much. I'm going to call it right now. It's the must-see fall network TV show. I've seen the first 6 episodes. Make sure you watch Brilliant Minds starting Monday, September 23rd on NBC. Thank you both so much.
Thank you for having us.
Do you know that the DA, the Brooklyn DA, the mayor, they're all calling for updates on the hour?
Okay, I appreciate that, but I mean...
But what?
Well, we're not magicians.
Can I talk to you for a second?
The detectives are back on the case for the 24th season of Law & Order. I'm talking with Reid Scott, Mechad Brooks. So, Mechad, I'll let you do the honors. 24 seasons of Law & Order, what is it like to be a part of that?
It is a dream come true. Reid and I both grew up on the show. It was always on in my house, I can say that. It sparked a lot of thoughtful discourse in my home. It got me interested as a child in New York City as a character, itself. And it just feels almost surreal sometimes when you're standing around and they're slating the scene, and you look at the slate, it says Law and Order, and you go, oh yeah, oh yeah, wow, this is it. Just a little anecdote that, the theme song is my alarm to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning every morning. I swear to God. And it's because it reminds me of what is possible through dreaming and manifesting and hard work. And I get up every day with that dun, 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 dun. And it makes me, it motivates me to work even harder and be more devoted to it. So,
and I actually, I can one up him on the ringtone thing. I have a tattoo of Jerry Orbach on my chest.
Although it looks a lot more like George Clooney, which is, I think, is weird.
It's weird.
I know.
It's just weird.
I know. It's like
You're not
Orbach Clooney.
You're certainly not alone on it.
I did the tattoo. So
he did it.
My first one.
Knowing the theme song, it's stuck in all of our heads at all times. And Reid, this 24 seasons, but we're still dealing with contemporary issues that are going to be at the forefront in this show. What can you preview about what kind of cases we'll see?
I think in keeping with the wonderful tradition of what you just said, Law and Order just takes it to a whole new level this season. I mean, the issues are still the classic, ripped from the headlines, but they get into some really, topical stuff. We get into, politics, obviously. We get into journalistic integrity. We get into AI. We touch upon the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. I mean, really, nothing is off limits when it comes to Law and Order. And that's something that, I know we are very proud of in terms of the show, because to be part of a show that can educate and really start a national conversation is like, that's where you want to be as an actor, to know that your work is actually mattering and really hopefully making a difference.
And can affect change.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it feels like an extension of social justice in a way, right?
And the show's always done a wonderful job of, they don't try to wrap it up. They don't try to offer up an issue and say, here's what the issue is in a nice, pretty little package. They leave it open to interpretation. The good guys don't always win on this show. Sometimes sometimes the bad guy gets away, and you got to wonder, well, what about the system is broken? What can be improved? Where are these cracks? How can we fill them in? And that's why I think it's been such a satisfying show for so many millions of people for such a long time.
Right.
And back for a full 22 episode season. Obviously, fans will know that the retirement of Sam Waterston, Jack McCoy, but we're getting some big heavy hitters now on the cast. Tony Goldwyn, who we met from last season, and Maura Tierney is joining the cast this season. What's it like working with them as well?
Tony and Maura are great. I mean, they both have similar introductions into the show. They both come onto the crime scene and sort of take the reins for a moment. And they both, in real life, they both kind of came in a way where it felt like they'd always been here.
Mm-hmm.
We're very blessed to have them, very lucky to work with them. I've been a fan of both of them for a very long time, and it's an honor and a privilege.
The dynamic in the 2-7 is special, as I'm learning. I still sort of feel like the new guy. I like passing that mantle on to Maura now, but the three of us specifically, we have a blast. We all actually have comedic backgrounds, so in between takes, we're cracking each other up, which is a great way to sort of assuage the tension from some of these rather dark situations that we're covering.
But, levity,
and we work really well together. We bring, I think, that timing, and it really helps infuse our scenes with a lot of energy, and it's just such a blast to play in the sandbox.
And Tony and Maura tell me all the time, like, what a huge pleasure it is working with me. So fantastic.
Of course they do. They have to. And I can't wait for people to start watching the new season of Law & Order starting Thursday, October 3rd, right here on NBC at 8 p.m., streaming the next day on Peacock. Thanks a lot, guys.
Take care.
Thank you.
One of the must-see shows on TV right now is on NBC. It's called Found. It is such an important show that deals with such great topics that we need to be talking about. I'm talking with the stars themselves, Shanola Hampton, Mark-Paul Gosselaar, and this is just so good. Shanola, I'll let you do the honors. Tell us what Found is all about.
Found is all about representing the underrepresented, highlighting people who are missing, who don't get their media attention. Gabby Mosley, which is the character that I played, was kidnapped as a child, and her purpose in life is to make sure that no one has to save themselves like she had to. So her purpose is helping families bring their children or family members, friends home. She then, however, kidnapped her kidnapper and left him in the basement. That's all on season 1, which you can catch up with on Peacock. And by the end of season 1, he escaped the basement. Now we're in season 2, and Sir, played by the whatever Mark Paul, is on the loose. Mark Paul, take it.
Hello.
Yeah, tell us about season 2. Catch us up. Where are we at?
Where are we at, Shanola, with this? I mean, it's going to be a long season. It's 22 episodes, which we feel very fortunate. NBC believes in us, and we believe in NBC, so it's a very good fit. And I think we're on episode 3. Sir had kidnapped Lacey again. We find out who Lacey is and her background. And yeah, we're just it's a long season, so we're gonna really sort of dig into the rest of the cast and understand their backstories a little bit more.
When I first saw this show last year, I read the premise before it premiered, and I was like, oh my gosh, this show is so creative. It's so needed in this time. And Shanola, like you said, it's for the underrepresented. We see a lot being in media. We see all the media attention, the quote missing white person syndrome that they get when people go missing. But this is for the underrepresented, the Black community, the LGBTQ plus community. These people need voices. I've seen How I Caught My Killer, a documentary on Hulu, and those deal with all of these people in these communities. Shanola, what's it like to be a part of telling this story?
It feels like I'm doing something that is so relevant and so timely and makes so much sense right now to really highlight it. Should we have been having these conversations earlier? Yes. Am I so happy and thrilled that we're doing them now? Absolutely. And I'm so glad to be at the forefront of, and along with NK and Sone, our showrunners, of telling these relevant and important stories.
Very much. It's such important stories. And Mark Paul, we know you obviously Saved by the Bell. We know Shanola as V, my favorite character in Shameless. Absolutely. This is such a different role for you, though, Mark Paul. Kind of the villain. What's it like getting into the villain's shoes?
Well, I think I've been playing a villain my entire career. I mean, I don't think that Zach Morris was necessarily just the angel sitting on the shoulders of everyone he came in contact with. A friend of mine, Dashiell Driscoll, created for Funny or Die. He created a web series on YouTube called Zach Morris's Trash. And if you see it from that lens of how Dashiell explains Zach Morris, I don't think you can ever not see Zach as being the little devil that he was. So I've been playing dark characters my entire life. It's something that draws. There's something about these characters that I get drawn to. I think it's the challenge of playing them. But we have, like Shanola said, fantastic writers, creators, and they're giving us some great material to tell an unbelievable story with.
To check that out as a Saved by the Bell fan. And Shanola, like I said, with V, it's just I hate to say it, but the Gallaghers, great actors, great acting, but they were very not easy to root for. But V and Kevin, so easy to root for. The neighbors, I'm like, we need their story. And now you're in this darker drama role. What's that like against playing opposite of V, basically?
Oh, yeah, no, really opposite of V. It's been really lovely. I think that we always strive to, as actors, diversify our career and let people know you're not just one thing. So it was one of the things I looked for when looking for what I was going to do after doing 11 seasons. And so it's really nice for people to see the juxtaposition between the two characters. I love V so much. People still call me her in the street, and I answer. And I love Gabby Mosley. It's just nice that I'm able to have a career where I can play two strong women, but leave on different paths in life. And I'll say my Shameless family, we're still very, very close. And that was such a moment in time that we didn't just leave on the set. We are still in each other's lives actively now.
Love to hear that. And last question, Mark Paul. This is, you two seem, I've seen the media press tours, the different events you guys go to. You and Shanola seem so close despite being enemies in the show. It just is, it's so great to see you two be such good friends after all of this.
I don't like him. Where did he get that from? That is not, I want it in big bold letters. Shanola Hampton cannot stand Mark Paul.
Trevor, we get paid really well as actors on TV shows because sometimes we have to work with people that are, not our favorite. So I'm glad to say that I'm renegotiating soon, and I'm going to be asking for a lot of money because this is not easy working with someone like Shanola.
He's also welcome. After 40 years in his career, ask him a question. Who's been better than me? Go ahead. No one. That's the answer. I already answered. Don't you dare. Don't you name the person.
Yeah.
It's always good to work with somebody who has a like mind and who's also very giving on screen and off screen. That's what I'll say. And also,
I love the dynamic between you two. Found is such a great show. Everyone needs to be seeing it. You can watch it Thursdays on NBC, streaming the next day on Peacock. Thank you both so much.
Thank you
Thanks,
so much.
So you know him from Rent, The Flash, Law & Order. I'm now talking with Jesse L. Martin. He's the star of The Irrational on NBC. We're talking about season 2. So catch us up. Obviously, we're going to season 2. Where do we need to remember about season 1?
Well, season 1 ended with Alec Mercer, the character that I play, has a girlfriend. Her name is Rose, and she ends up getting kidnapped at the end of our first season. So the big mystery that we need to solve is what happens to Rose. So you'll see that day 1.
We'll see that day 1. Make sure you watch that on NBC, streaming on Peacock also. And this is sort of a unique crime drama. It's all about behavioral psychology. It's different from all these other crime dramas that we see on TV. What's it like being a part of a show like this?
It's fantastic. I mean, obviously, I have some experience in the crime genre, but my prior experience has always been very sort of localized in the law enforcement world. I'm certainly not a detective on the show. I don't even have a badge of any sort. All I have is the knowledge I have in my brain and my little notebook that helps me piece things out mathematically and scientifically. So it's a big old thrill for me to be able to solve mysteries and crimes in the way that we're doing it here.
Taking what you had in dozens and dozens of episodes on Law & Order, what did you take from your time on that show to now piece it to catch up with this character in The Irrational?
Well, I'd have to say a lot of the things I learned on Law & Order, because I worked with such stellar actors and talents, not only in the regular cast, with Sam Waterston and Jerry Orbach, S.C. Payton Murkison. I learned a lot about the work in acting. But in this case, I'm able to absolutely apply it in a more mature sense, if I may say. And it's more freeing at this point. Before I was younger and I felt like I had so much to prove. Now I feel like I have so much to say.
Yeah, I love the way you put that. And this is also, for people who might not be aware, it's based on a true story. Were you familiar with the story, and did you get to contact the person who this is based on, and what was that relationship like?
I hadn't been familiar with the story prior to being introduced to the role, but I certainly do know the person that it's based on, and we've become very friendly, and he's been entirely helpful in helping me flesh the character out. And I am nothing like the guy at all. And I think he's happy about that. And in a way, I'm happy about that too, because I get to make it my own. And I get to flesh it out in a way that he told me he would have never thought to do. So it's a thrill.
It's a really good way to put it. Yeah, it's loosely based on like his life, taken from it. I talked with Zachary Quinto for Brilliant Minds, another NBC show, and he mentioned how it's like, yes, it's based on someone and based on real cases, but I'm making the character my own. Is that how you see this role?
Absolutely. I think that's what I was charged to do when we first came in. They handed it to me not to play this person, but make this person a reality in this world. And that gives an actor a whole lot of freedom, and it makes it a whole lot of fun. and also grounds it in a reality that I can always return to. I can always go to this person and say, hey, how can I flesh this out? Hey, how can I make this theory more interesting? So I get the best of both worlds.
It's certainly the best of both worlds. What do people need to know before they start watching the second season of The Irrational?
Well, what they need to know is you will see all the characters that you've come to love in the first season, but all the relationships become way more intense. The crimes that we're trying to solve, or the mysteries per se, are a lot bigger in scope, and some of them reach international spaces. So things just get bigger, a lot bigger.
That's what happens when you get a second season. Things are bigger and better. I'm so glad it was renewed for a second season. Make sure you watch The Irrational, premiering Tuesday, October 8th on NBC. Thank you so much.
Thank you, man.